Hello, welcome to today's episode of The Law Show. Now, recently we did a show on how to sue for breach of your fundamental rights. How to sue for breach of your fundamental rights. So if you have not watched that episode, of course, you can feel free to look through a combo of videos and then you can watch it. But some people, wondered in their messages, how will they know if their rights are breached? I mean, how will they know which right was breached, as distinct from, other rights? And so today we'll be looking at, 12 rights, 12 rights that you can sue for if they are breached. There are 12. The Constitution calls them fundamental rights. They are human rights, so 12 human rights that you can sue for if they are breached. You can claim money for any of them if they are breached, or you can do more than one at once if more than one of the human rights are breached. But generally, these 12 that we'll be looking at are the rights that you can, claim money for from court once you can establish that these rights have been breached. So we'll just jump right into it. If you haven't watched the video on how to successfully sue for breach of your fundamental rights, or how to file a successful fundamental rights lawsuit, you can of course go to watch it, and it will be very good as a precursor to watching this. By the way, this will be a 6-part series on fundamental rights. We are looking at different parts of fundamental rights, in this 6-part series. So this will be obviously part 1 of when we are breaking down, how to sue for fundamental rights, all the different components. Today's own, we are looking at the 12 fundamental rights that you can. 12 fundamental rights. Lawyers call them fundamental rights, but I think other people call them human rights. But they are the same, both fundamental or human rights. So, so there you go. In Nigeria, the Constitution regards them as fundamental rights. The African Charter on Human and People's Rights calls them human rights. So whether you call them human rights or you call them fundamental rights, you are right. They are so human and so fundamental that without them, a human being cannot live well as a human being. So they are called human rights. So, all right. So let's jump right into it. 12 rights that you can sue for when they are breached. The first one is the right to life. The right to life. And that is provided for, if you have a pen and paper, you are making notes. Section 33(1) of the Constitution. Section 33(1) of the Constitution. Some of them I will read. This one says, 33(1), every person has a right to life. Okay? Every person has a right to life. So, every one of us, both me, you that is watching, we all have a right to life. And that right has been guaranteed by the Constitution, which is the highest law of Nigeria. And that right ought to be respected. In other words, no one should take your right to take your life and breach your right to life. So that's what the Constitution says. Everyone should respect your right to life. Okay? The Constitution says every person has a right to life, and no one shall be deprived intentionally of his life. No one shall be deprived intentionally of his life, except in execution of the sentence of a court in respect of a criminal offense of which he has been found guilty in Nigeria. Okay? So, if there is someone has been found guilty by a court in Nigeria and he has exhausted all his rights of appeal, his life can be taken away. But apart from that, his life cannot be taken away. Nobody's life can be taken away. All right, so that's number one right, and number one condition under which it can be taken away. The second one is If the person dies as a result of circumstances which are permitted by law for force to be used, if the person dies as a result of the use of force which is permitted by law, okay? One, for the defense of any person from unlawful violence or the defense of property. So that's number one. If Mr. A, he has a gun and is attacking a group of people, the life of Mr. A that is attacking the group of people, either with a submachine gun or with a pistol or whatever, just shooting people, or he has a knife, a machete or something, and his life can be taken away to defend the life of other persons from unlawful violence, or for the defense of property. Okay, if he's burning down buildings and all that, his life can be taken. That's. Then two, in order to effect a lawful arrest or to prevent the escape of a person lawfully detained, or for the purpose of suppressing a riot, insurrection, or mutiny. So these are circumstances where it will be justifiable to take life. If life is taken to effect in the process of effecting a lawful arrest, and again, there are legal, parameters to this, lawful arrest to prevent the escape of a person from lawful custody. There are guidelines for the use of firearms by security agencies. The fact that you want to effect an arrest doesn't mean you just shoot the person. There are certain categories of offenses the person will commit and probably is fleeing, that you are allowed to use, a firearm to prevent his escape. And, you have to justify it if the matter comes up. You, the security agent, has to justify your use of firearm. So, you can fire at the leg or demobilize him. There are parts of the body you can fire at without taking life. But if somebody is escaping and you aim for the head and you just get a clean shot to the head and you blow his brains out, that will be extremely difficult to justify. So on the one hand, you have the right to life, and then on the other hand, you have 2 or 3 circumstances which the law has outlined that you can take the right to life. Either you are executing the sentence of a court, you are trying to suppress use of unlawful violence, you are trying to prevent the person from escaping from lawful custody, or perhaps you are suppressing a riot, insurrection, or mutiny. So now these circumstances are there to aid security agencies to do their job and to actually demobilize highly dangerous individuals. It's not that any killing of any civilian, anytime, anywhere is going to be justified. So as I said, when it called into question your use of disproportionate force, and then you take the life of the person, the onus will be on you to justify the use of force. If you are unable to justify the use of force, then it's murder, and it's a breach of the right to life. So that's right number 1, the right to life. Okay? Right number 2 is right to dignity of the human person. Right number 2 is the right to the dignity of the human person. So if you have a pen, you can look at section 34, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is, I could read that, just a part of it, because it's quite a long one. Every person is entitled to respect for the dignity of his person. And accordingly, A, no person shall be subjected to torture or to inhuman or degrading treatment. B, no person shall be held in slavery or servitude. And C, no person shall be required to perform forced or compulsory labor. So every person has the right, to respect his person. As you respect yourself, you also are required to respect, the other person. So, you don't just respect only yourself and you subjugate, other people. So, number 1, your evidence of that respect, your indication of that respect is that you treat people nicely. That's just simple. Treat people nicely. Okay? Don't subject anyone to torture or to inhuman or degrading treatment. Degrading treatment. Two, don't hold anyone in slavery or servitude, whether under traditional grounds or this is our custom. We are used to holding these people to serve. Their own is their slave. They are a slave to a king. They are a slave to a monarch. They are a slave to whoever. The Constitution says it is against the Constitution. It's a breach of their fundamental right. Everyone should be free. That is that is the requirement of the Constitution. Then no person shall be required to perform forced or compulsory labor. You can't force someone to work. You can't force someone. You can't insist you must work for me. You must work in my farm. You tie their leg and tie their hand and force them to work in your farm. Without anybody that works for you, you must agree what you are going to pay. You must pay the person, and the person must work under humane conditions. Okay, of course, there are exceptions to this rule that every person is entitled to respect for dignity of his person. The exceptions, is that if in the court, in sentencing someone to jail or to imprisonment, imposes a sentence of compulsory, forced or compulsory labor, so be it. That one is justified. Although really in the statute books of Nigeria today, the imposition of forced or compulsory labor is really anachronistic. No one, that's a big English. I've said to myself, I'm not going to be speaking big English on this show. So anachronistic means something that has outlived its usefulness, something that is old and it has totally gone out of fashion. So forced or compulsory labor orders by the courts are usually not granted these days. Okay, now labor required of members of the armed forces of the Federation or Nigerian Police Force in portions of their duties as such. Of course, if someone signs to the armed forces, Navy, Army, police, what else, civil defense, or whatever, Air Force, that one is signed for it, so that's not forced labor, So there are times when you'll be required, yes, to do work that he does not want to do, but that is what he signed for. That's excluded by the Constitution. Then in the case of persons who have conscientious objections to service in the armed forces of the Federation, any labor required instead of such service. So if there is a time when maybe because of war, the government requires to conscript people into the armed forces, you need able-bodied young men, and you say, okay, all able-bodied young men of this age to that age must serve in the army. But certain people says, because of their religion does not permit them to shoot or kill anybody, and they don't want to do it. Government can give them other labor instead of military labor. So that one will not be a breach of their fundamental rights. Because in times of war, everybody is required to defend the territorial integrity and national sovereignty of the country. Any labor required which is reasonably necessary in the event of an emergency or calamity threatening the life or well-being of the community. If there is any emergency, maybe there is a river has overflowed its banks and is sweeping people off, and then there are 10 of us, and we are trying to rescue people, and we say to you have a car or a truck, and we say you begin to drive there and say, no, I'm not going to do it. The law says in that emergency we can actually compel you to do that, and that will not be it will not be against the Constitution. So then other labors like National Youth Service Corps scheme, normal communal or civic obligations for the well-being of the community. Some communities, the youths can come together to say, they want to clear the road, and every young person should join them to clear, the access road, or things like that. For you to say, I'm not going to join because I have a fundamental right. I cannot walk. Constitution says, well, that would not be really nice. You are part of the community. It's a community job. Everybody, is putting their heads together. You can, join them. Of course, you don't want to join them. You don't want to walk because either you are too big. You can be the one to buy all the drinks or buy all the food, in any way that you can. So that is right number 2. respect to dignity of the human person. So except these exceptions apply that we have outlined, you must generally and clearly respect the right of every person, respect other people, treat them with dignity. If you don't, they could sue you for money. Okay? And if you are watching and your right to dignity of your person has been breached, someone has treated you in a way that has reduced your self-worth, of course you have a right to sue that person. Third one is right to personal liberty. Right to personal liberty. This one is provided for in section 35 subsection 1 of the Constitution. Simply provides that every person shall be entitled to his personal liberty, and no person shall be deprived of such liberty except in the following cases and in accordance with the procedure permitted by law. So just it means every person is entitled to move around. I'm entitled to my freedom to move. So this one is allied to right to freedom of movement. I'll talk about that. But right to personal liberty, you can't just come and hold me and take me, to any place. You can't just conceal somebody. You can, in thought, we call that thought the wrong false imprisonment. You can't just lock somebody up. See, you can't just lock somebody up. You have no right to lock anybody up unless in accordance with the law, with the procedure permitted by law. One, these are the procedures, the circumstances you can lock anybody up. In execution of the sentence or order of a court in respect of a criminal offense of which he has been found guilty. So, if the court says, lock this person up, there's a criminal offense, he has been found guilty or whatever, he's facing trial, then you can, you can lock him up if you have a court order. All right? 2, by reason of his failure to comply with the order of a court or in order to secure the fulfillment of any obligation imposed upon him by law. So if the court has made an order and he has breached it, he has run foul of the law, he is in contempt of court, the court can order his imprisonment. For the purpose, the third one is for the purpose of bringing him before a court in execution of the order of a court, or upon reasonable suspicion of his having committed a criminal offense, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that one also, if somebody has committed an offense and the police or security agencies arrest him, they can detain him, until such a time as they can bring him, to court. So that's also, allowed. D, in the case of a person who has not attained the age of 18 years, for the purpose of his education or welfare. So, if it's somebody who is a minor and you are the parent, you can insist, that you take him to boarding school and say, don't let him get out of this place. Keep him in this boarding school. He has to learn, and if the child is below 18, the child cannot say, oh, my father has breached my fundamental rights. I'm allowed to move around. No. You are under 18, so you got to stay there. You got to do what daddy or mommy says. That's what the Constitution says. So for somebody who is suffering from infection or contagious disease, persons of unsound mind, persons addicted to drugs or alcohol or vagrants, for the purpose of their care or treatment or the protection of the community. So that's simple enough. If somebody is suffering from infectious diseases, that can spread, very easily, they can confine him. Or somebody that is, is colo, his mind is not sound anymore, he's insane. Okay, the law doesn't say insanity. The law says unsound mind. So the mind is not sound. All right. So, or somebody who is addicted to drugs or alcohol, and he can actually harm, somebody if he has taken drugs or he has, taken a lot of alcohol and is getting all kinds of psychoses. He's seeing his wife as an enemy. He's seeing his children, his neighbors, and say, oh, they are coming to attack me. I better kill them first. He carries a knife. And when they ask, why are you going to attack? Say, don't you see the man is carrying a knife coming? He's coming. He's coming. He's coming. He's coming. such a person, you've got to just, take him away and confine him until for the protection of the community or for their care or treatment. Okay, also for the purpose F, for the purpose of preventing the unlawful entry of any person into Nigeria or of effecting the expulsion or extradition or other lawful removal from Nigeria of any person or the taking of proceedings related thereto. So, if somebody is trying to come into Nigeria unlawfully, we can grab him and detain him. Or if somebody is in Nigeria unlawfully, he's not a Nigerian, he's just coming to this beautiful country and he wants to begin to enjoy the country, illegally, we can, the authorities can catch him, detain him, until they get him out of the country. So that's the third one. But beyond that, if any of these exceptions do not apply and somebody detains you for no just cause, you've got some money to claim there. All right? So that's number 3. Number 4, this one is a big one. Right to fair hearing. Right to fair hearing. Section 36, subsection 1. Right to fair hearing. I can read it. In the determination of his civil rights and obligations, including any question or determination by or against any government or authority, a person shall be entitled to a fair hearing within a reasonable time by a court or other tribunal established by law and constituted in such manner as to secure its independence and impartiality. So this is the one every law student must know of heart. He must be able to recite this one. Section 36(1), right to fair hearing. In determination of anyone's civil rights and obligations, there's any issue, government has said, you're obligated to do this, you didn't do it, or any of his rights is being affected by or against any authority, you'll be entitled to fair hearing within a reasonable time by a court or other tribunal established by law and which is impartial. Okay? So they can't drag you before a court that is partial. And you cannot be sentenced until the court has heard your side of the story. So there are two sides to this provision. As lawyers would say, they will say, audi alterem partem and nemo judex in causa sua. Audi alterem partem is, you must hear the other side of the case. So before you judge me, before you pass sentence on me, you've got to hear my side of the story. You cannot condemn me unheard. Then the second one is, the person who is to judge the case should not have an interest. The person who is to judge the case should not have an interest. Because once that person has an interest, I cannot be entitled to fair hearing. That person is already biased. He must jail you no matter what you... If you fight with the son of a judge and they take you before that judge to try you, he must jail you now. You have no escape route. Whatever the son says, he say yes, okay. So I know this is kind of an extreme example, but that just illustrates the requirement of Section 36. So there are several other provisions to ensure that the trial is fair and that you are heard. Trial will be within a reasonable time in a court or tribunal, and it must be open to the public. You cannot go and try somebody in hiding unless there are privacy issues, either children's issues, military law issues, etc., etc. And then the presumption that every person who is charged is presumed innocent until he's proved guilty. You must inform the person promptly in the language that he understands, the nature of the offense, what is the offense, give him time to prepare, give him facilities to prepare. Any witness you call, allow him to cross-examine them either by himself or by his lawyer. Or after you have finished your case, you must also allow him to defend himself. Either he defends himself or he calls his lawyer to come and stand for him. He must allow him to also call his own witnesses. If he cannot understand the language, give him an interpreter free of charge. So all these ones, these are all provided for to ensure that, really, Nigerians enjoy the right to fair hearing. So whenever any of this is breached, in other words, you are subjected to trial by somebody who is presiding, who has an interest in the matter, in the case, you have a right to claim money, okay? And if they just sentence you without hearing your side of it, nobody really gave you this thing here, you want to talk, they say, no time, just, go away. It says, the law says, you are entitled to sue for money. Okay, that's the number 4 right. Right to fair hearing is number 4. Number 5, right to private and family life. This one is provided for in section 37 of the Constitution. Section 37, right to private and family life. It's a short one. I'll just read it. The privacy of citizens, their homes, correspondence, telegraphic conversations, telephone conversations, and telegraphic communications is hereby guaranteed and protected. So this one just sort of protects us when we are doing things that are private. The Constitution says it shouldn't be that every time I'm doing something you should be watching me. If I'm in my house, don't put a surveillance camera in my house to be seeing what I'm doing. Don't go and bug my telephone. Allow me to talk. If I'm talking to my client, allow me to talk to my client without you listening in. If I'm talking to my friend, allow me to talk to my friend. Don't go and put some listening device. And if I'm doing telegraphic communication, don't go and open my letters. Correspondence, don't open my letters and read. Give me privacy. Okay? In my home, in my body. Don't just search my body, say, hey, what have you? I better remove your trouser. Let's see the kind of pant you are wearing. Even if that pant is, the type, I just tie it with rope to hold it. You not disgrace me in public. You say, no. Say the privacy of citizens, their body, their homes, their letters, correspondence they write between each other, their telephone conversation, wireless communication is protected and guaranteed. So if anyone breaches this right, for example, you have police stopping people, I want to search your phone, it's a breach of fundamental right, okay, if they have not an order of court and if there's no reasonable grounds for it. Police, if they do all that, it's a breach of fundamental rights. And if they do it to anyone, the person is entitled to some money. Okay, number 6, right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Okay, this one is provided for in section 38, subsection 1, 38(1). So if you are writing, you can make the note 38(1) of the Constitution. Okay, and it provides section 38(1). Every person shall be entitled to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion, including freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom either alone or in community with others and in public or private to manifest and propagate his religion or belief in worship, in teaching, in practice, and observance. So beautiful. So beautiful. So you have a right, I have a right to think the way I want to think. Okay? I can think that, as far as I'm concerned, I would like to be wearing this cloth I'm wearing now. I would like to be wearing it every day. That's my thought. It's okay. Okay? Conscience. If you like to keep people in war, if my conscience does not allow me, the law says, leave me with my conscience. Okay? Religion. If I believe in Jehovah Almighty, leave me with my religion. If you believe in your own Allah, I should allow you to believe what you believe. If it is a tree that the next person likes to worship, let him worship his tree. If he's the one that likes to dance Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna, allow him to dance his his Hare Krishna. If he's the one that worship idol, Olokun, what they call them, all those, allow him to worship his idol. To the extent that he's worshiping his idol, does not, he's not disturbing you now. He's not forcing you to come and join him. Leave him to do his own. You do your own. So this requirement is just to ensure that we do not disturb each other's religion. I don't force you to come and join me in my religion. Neither should you also carry a gun and say, Dele, unless you convert, you change your religion, I'm going to kill you. No. Just do your own. I do my own. Believe what you believe. I believe what I believe. Pray the way you want. I pray the way I want. Teach the way you want. I teach the way I want. Teach your children what you believe. I teach my children what I believe. If anybody tries to force somebody else into his own religion or practices or belief or system of worship, it's a breach of fundamental rights for which there can be a suit and the person can claim a monetary compensation. So we have looked at 6. Just to recap, we have looked at 6. The first one, right to life. The second one, right to dignity of human person. The third one, right to personal liberty. Fourth one, right to fair hearing. Fifth one, right to private and family life. Number 6, we have looked at right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. So this video has been long enough, so we're going to try and stop the 12 rights that, if they are breached, you can sue for, you can actually get money for, are these 6 that we have looked at. And then we can continue the other 6 rights in part 2. So this will be part 1. We'll do a part 2 of this same video. So together we'll be looking at the 12 rights that you can sue for. So I would like to stop this video here so that it doesn't become too large. See you in part 2 of this same video or in any other video. God bless. 24 hours, 7 days a week. You can find your favorite program, Law and You, only on Pinnacle TV.